Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go!
I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
The story you're about to enjoy was inspired by Allie. Thank you so much for your amazing idea. Do you know if we can wear shorts to a fancy tea party, Mom? Asked Levi. I guess it depends if there's a dress code, answered Levi's mom. There's no code that I saw, said Levi. The invitation was just written in normal writing. No, sweetie. A dress code means, did the person throwing the tea party say you had to wear something fancy? Asked Levi's mom. Levi called out to Ivy to get the invitation to Allie's tea party from the kitchen and run it up to his room. When she arrived, they read it together and found that Allie had asked that everyone attending her tea party wear something that showed off their favorite thing. So I guess you can wear shorts, said Levi's mom with a smile. As long as they're your favorite thing. They aren't, but they're one of my comfiest pairs of pants, said Levi. So I'll wear them and my dinosaur sweatshirt because dinosaurs are my favorite. And I'm going to wear my purple and blue dress with the fairy on it, added Ivy, because fairies are my favorite. Well, it looks like we have the dress code figured out, so we'll leave for the party in 10 minutes, said Levi and Ivy's mom as she walked out of the room. Levi and Ivy were super excited about Allie's tea party because not only did they love a party, but they always had an amazing time with their friend Allie. She was exciting and silly and had the best imagination ever. They always had great adventures with her and couldn't wait to see what amazing things would happen at the tea party. So once they arrived at Allie's house, they told their mom they'd see her at 5:30 and ran off to meet all their friends. As they ran through the big wooden gate into Allie's backyard, they saw something they had never seen before. It looked like they had stepped into a magical, mystical land. There were little twinkle lights strung in the trees and long tables filled with delicate china teacups, tiny cakes and mini sandwiches. There were flowers everywhere and pillows to sit on instead of chairs. Coolest tea party ever, shouted Levi as he and Ivy ran over to Allie. I am so glad you guys can make it, said Allie, greeting her friends. And I see that you wore something that shows off your favorite thing. Nice job. As Levi and Ivy looked around, they noticed their other friends from school also had the following tea party dress code. Kristen was wearing a shirt with a dolphin on it, Dylan was wearing a hat with a soccer ball on it, and Ruby was wearing a skirt covered in stars. And what do you think my favorite thing is? Asked Allie to Levi and Ivy as she showed off the dress she had by doing a little twirl. A unicorn, of course, said Ivy. You love unicorns. Now that everyone is here, let's get to the tea party, exclaimed Allie. Her mom poured out some berry-flavored tea into each of the fancy teacups on the table and then told everyone she would be inside if they needed anything. Allie was very interested in having this tea party just be her and her friends and promised her mom that she was old enough and responsible enough to do everything by herself. Okay, everyone, said Allie as she stood up at the head of the table. I am so happy that everyone could make it to my favorite things tea party. You've all been asked to wear something showing your favorite thing because I have a little bit of magic planned for today. All of Allie's friends were very interested in what she had to say next and leaned in close to listen. The berry tea that my mom gave us and the treats on the table are all magic, said Allie with wide eyes. It's called butterfly tea, and she got it at a cool little shop in town. She also bought all the yummy treats on the table at that store. And when she was buying all of it, the daughter of the woman who owns the store told me that if you eat one of the treats while saying your favorite thing, you'll turn into that thing. Everyone at the table gasped, some nearly spilling their magical tea. So I thought we could all try turning into our favorite things, said Allie. What do you think? What? Are you for real? Asked Kristen. Yeah, that seems impossible, added Dylan as Ruby nodded along with him. Well, it's not impossible, and we're going to see it work right here, right now, said Allie reassuringly. But in all honesty, she wasn't exactly sure if it would work either, but she wanted it to, and she thought maybe that was enough. So on the count of 3, Allie and all her friends each grabbed a tasty sweet treat, took a bite, and washed it down with a sip of the butterfly tea. all the time thinking of their favorite things that they wanted to turn into. Then they waited. A few seconds passed by, then a few more, until all of a sudden Dylan said, "See, I told you it wouldn't work." Dylan? Allie started to say. "Are you bouncing up and down right now?" "Bouncing up and down?" asked Dylan with a chuckle. "You mean like I'm a basketball?" "No, Dylan, I mean, you're like a soccer ball," said Allie. "Because you're a soccer ball, your favorite thing." Dylan then looked down at his hands and feet, and instead of being connected to his body per the norm, they were connected to a black and white bouncy soccer ball. "Wow, this is incredible," exclaimed Dylan. "I'd never miss a goal again if I was a soccer ball." "And look at you, Kristen," called out Ruby. "You're the cutest dolphin ever." "And you're the brightest, most marvelous star I've ever seen," replied Kristen to Ruby, who was glowing for all to see. Levi and Ivy couldn't believe what they were seeing, so they decided to look at each other, and what they saw was nothing short of remarkable. "You're a dinosaur, Levi," called out Ivy. "Am I a fairy?" "You sure are," replied Levi. "I put a mirror on the table so we could all look at ourselves as our favorite things," said Allie. "How do I look before I check for myself?" As everyone turned to look at Allie, they were left with a loss for words as they gazed up at the most colorful and magical-looking unicorn ever. "You look amazing, Allie, just like all of us," said Ivy as she flew around the garden trying out her new fairy wings. So you can imagine all the kids had lots and lots of things they wanted to try out in their new forms. And so they did. Dylan bounced off the table, the fence, and the garden gate. Kristen practiced her best dolphin calls and waved with her flippers. Ruby tried her hand at making some constellations. Levi stomped around the tea party, testing out his best dino roar. Ivy practiced a little fairy magic, turning leaves into fun fairy clothes. And Allie pranced around the party, swinging her rainbow mane back and forth. All of the kids were having the best time ever. They played together the whole time, eating more magical treats and drinking more butterfly tea. That is until Allie felt like a lot of time had passed since they had all turned into their favorite things. And since her party would be ending soon, she figured they should all turn back into their usual selves. Because Allie was pretty sure everyone's parents wouldn't be too happy to come to her house expecting to pick up their kids and then leave with a dinosaur, a star, a dolphin, a fairy, or a soccer ball. Just as Allie was going to tell everyone that they had to turn back by eating another tasty treat and saying that they wanted to be themselves again, she saw a little note sticking out of one of the treat boxes. Something told her she really should read it, and she did. And what she read made her more than a little nervous. "Oh no!" neighed Allie. She stomped her hooves on the ground and tried her best to get everyone's attention. "Listen up, everyone, please! We may be in big trouble!" That definitely got everyone's attention, and once they were listening, Allie told them what the note said. "So I guess there's a time limit on this favorite thing transformation," Allie began. "What does that mean?" asked Dylan, starting to look a bit concerned. "Well, the note that I found says we have to turn ourselves back by 5 p.m. Or we may be stuck as our favorite thing forever," Allie whispered. "What was that, Allie?" exclaimed Levi and Ivy. "We couldn't hear you." "I said we may be stuck as our favorite thing forever," said Allie in a louder voice. "Oh no," said everyone at the tea party. "What are we going to do?" That's when they heard the grandfather clock inside Allie's house chime 5 times, meaning it was 5 p.m. and they were stuck as their favorite things forever. Well, maybe. Since Allie had gotten all of her friends into the situation, she was going to do her best to stay calm and get them out of it, said Allie, looking around. After all, this is a magical tea party filled with magical things. We must have a little magic left somewhere. I hope. Let's try a few things and see if any of them work before we give up hope. So, with positive thinking, Allie and her friends tried some silly dances to reverse the magical spell. They tried saying their requests backwards. They even tried eating more sweets and wishing to be back in their normal, usual selves, thinking maybe the time limit really didn't matter. But it did, because nothing happened. So, at the tea party, which earlier in the day was the best thing ever, sat a very sad fairy, unicorn, dinosaur, soccer ball, dolphin, and star, just waiting for someone or something to help them. And that's when Allie had an idea. As she sat and nudged her teacup with her unicorn nose, she thought, since we're at a magical tea party, maybe the tea alone can help us. Allie told her friends her idea, to drink all their tea in one big gulp and hope beyond hope that it would do the trick. Everyone was almost ready to give up, but they believed in Allie and thought, what did they have to lose? Okay, on the count of 3, everyone grab your teacup and drink all your tea, said Allie. And it wouldn't hurt to wish that you would turn back into your usual self, too. Everyone nodded, and on the count of 3, tea was gulped and wishes were made. Then they waited. A few seconds passed by, then a few more, until all of a sudden Dylan said, "Are we back to normal?" He looked around at his friends and then down at his hands and feet and excitedly proclaimed that yes, they were. "You did it, Allie. You got us turned back to Levi, Ivy, Kristen, Ruby, Dylan, and Allie. Thank you so much," said Dylan as he danced around the magical garden. Everyone gave each other hugs and then took a minute to think about what had just happened. And when they did, they all settled on the same feeling. Coolest tea party ever. And just as they were discussing the amazing magical adventure they had all just had, their parents walked through the gate into the backyard to pick them up. "So, how was the tea party, everyone?" asked Kristen's mom. "It was great," said everyone with big smiles. That tea and those treats look so delicious," said Levi and Ivy's mom. "Do you mind if I have a little?" And before she could even reach her hand toward the table, all the kids shouted, "No!" as they knocked all the leftover tea and treats onto the ground. "Now, why would you go and do something like that? Maybe you aren't quite ready and responsible enough to have your own tea party," said Allie's mom. "You know what, Mom?" replied Allie with a smile. "I think you're right." Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.